Now let's bring in State of the Nation contributor and former Minister Dr. Nalaka Godahewa to get some reactions. Thank you, Doctor, for joining me once again this week as well. I've heard this same speech from various presidents before regarding the throne speech that was made by President Anukumara Dissanayake. Now the areas of focus was pretty much the same, but the determination to change them is a bit different this time around in the backdrop of where Sri Lanka is right now. Now, economy, politics, IT, society, tourism, and even discipline was focused on by President Anukumara Dissanayake in his speech to the Parliament. What jumped out of the pages for you, Doctor, on this speech?
No, actually, when I was listening to President Anukumara Dissanayaka's speech, what came into my mind was President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's inaugural parliamentary address in 2020, because the content were more or less the same. I mean, the big picture, the macro issues addressed were more or less the same, except one or two areas where there were slight differences. For example, when it came to the separatism issue or the racism, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa emphasized more on the Sinhala Buddhist vote and the need to preserve the dignity of the rest of the races. So President Anukumara Dissanayake categorically said there's no difference between anybody. Everybody must be treated equally, and there's no room for any kind of racism in this country, which was a plus, I would say. I mean, under any circumstance, we should not differentiate between the races in this country, and we must give full marks to Anukumara Dissanayake, the current president. But apart from that, what was different? The importance of digitalization, the importance of getting people out of poverty, the education, IT sector, advantage of the geographical location, emphasis on the agriculture, the need to look after the poor and to make Sri Lanka a developed nation, more or less the same. So I didn't see much of a difference. I would have expected from a government which came to power with two-thirds majority, or rather even more, some radical changes to the current system, whereas instead of that, what we saw was a kind of a willingness to maintain the status quo. Okay, one thing that was different from Gotabaya Rajapaksa was the IMF issue, because when Gotabaya came to power, this issue was not there. Now there's one of the biggest issues the country is facing is the economy, and the former president Ranil Wickremesinghe started a certain program with the IMF, and instead of showing how the NPP government is going to be different, or rather negotiate with IMF, President Anukumara Dissanayake basically said, I'm going to maintain the status quo. That is not what they were promising before the election. So that was a little bit of a disappointment when I was listening to his address.
Indeed, Doctor, despite the determination by the president to change the economy and social changes, quite a less amount of attention was given to security. How, in the previous parliament which you were part of, security was one crucial area of focus. Why not now?
No, I think security will always be an issue for this country, because we haven't come out of the problems we were facing sometimes back. There's this separatism agenda is always there with at least some people, and also the religious issues that can come up, the religious camps. The world is still struggling with that, so you can't say Sri Lanka is now immune to that. So security will always be an issue. Sovereignty will always be an issue. The emphasis has to be there from any government. But in a way, I think the current government must be feeling that since they won even the North, for the first time the Southern Party has won the North, the support at an election, they must be feeling that there's total security and everything is now settled. But I would caution them not to think like that. The government must always pay emphasis to the security, because there are always unwarranted groups, extremist groups, which don't not fall in line with the rest of the thinking. Answer to your question, I think emphasis has to be there on security, whoever comes to power.
Doctor, now the president was very stern about making the parliament work for the people, and more so creating faith among the electors towards the people. Discipline was one key factor he focused on. This is a new chapter in our nation's history. Do you think, with so many new fresh faces coming in, finally, this is going to be a possibility?
I think the government has an opportunity that the previous government did not have. If you look at the history of Sri Lanka's parliament, from a highly dignified place where everybody looked up to, the quality deteriorated over time, particularly after the introduction of the preference voting system. The quality of the people who entered the parliament, not everybody, but some people, started deteriorating, and that was quite visible to the people, particularly after the parliament, the decision by the previous government, or rather the government before, to air the parliamentary proceedings to the public through mass media and social media. It became a kind of a show. People shouting, screaming, just to get attention in the evening news or during the live session, and the quality deteriorated heavily. And also, I would always think the previous speaker was not able to control the parliament properly. So it became a place that people don't want to, respect, don't want to listen. The quality deteriorated heavily. So now that there are so many newcomers in the parliament, more than 2/3 are freshers, yes, this government has an opportunity to change it. But of course, even the speaker is new, which is not necessarily a good thing, because I think, but he will learn. He's an educated person. The parliament must learn to respect the standing orders, respect the norms, the traditions, and set an example to the people of this country. And I sincerely hope the current parliament, the speaker and the parliament, will make an effort to do so. That is the ultimate place that everybody is looking up to in this country. So that dignity has to be maintained.
Absolutely. Doctor, with best wishes to the new parliament. Doctor, thank you for taking the time to speak to us. Of course, as this parliament progresses, our conversation will continue. Dr. Nalaka Godahewa, former Parliamentarian and State of the Nation contributor. Thank you very much. Let's take a short commercial break. When we return, the reactions from the opposition itself. This is the State of the Nation. Back in a minute.